Well, I'll give you an interesting story here. This probably not going to be picked up on any YouTube channels that are into conspiracies because their heads are someplace else. You know, the Rothschilds, the Illuminati, the Lizard People, David Icke, and everything else. But anyway, this was about a Russian oligarch. You probably never heard of him. I heard about this guy a while back. Boris Berezovsky, found dead at his UK estate. Basically, he was in exile from Russia. Russia's always been trying to get him back. And it's not like Russia's trying to get him back. You know who's trying to get him back? Putin. And since the last 13 years, Berezovsky's been a major critic of Putin. You know, he initially supported him, but then stuff happened, okay? Now, I'm going to say this, he was killed, okay? I'm going to say he was killed. Because basically you're picking up different things on different stories. And you know, I mean really, you know why I could say he's killed? He was killed. I mean, yeah, he's dead, but it wasn't a suicide. It wasn't because he was depressed. It's because too many of his enemies keep suggesting that it was because he was depressed. That pretty much tells you what the deal is. So basically it was on a Forbes Russian language website. He was supposedly quoted as saying to somebody, a journalist, which, you know, it's like I heard him say this, you know, there's no proof or nothing. My life no longer makes sense. I have no desire to take part in politics. So they got, in other words, yeah, whatever. So then, you know, and actually, this is actually from Business Insider. Basically, the deal happened. It's a long, convoluted thing. I mean, you could say this guy's a crook, but basically, there's bigger crooks that screwed him over. I'll give it to you in a nutshell. So, Berezovsky sued Abramovich, saying because he was forced to sell his oil shares from a jointly owned oil company, Zebneft, at a fraction of their true worth, right? So, who did he sell them to? The state. You know, who's the state? Vladimir Putin and the FSB. So basically, some other big guys screwed him. So he's always been against Putin since 2000. He's initially supported him, and he's been living in the UK. And the Russian government's trying to get him back. But he also has some media empire, I think, in Russia, and he tries to expose a lot of different things that go on inside of Russia where they violate human rights. So, I mean, you could say one big guy versus another big guy, but I think this guy was the better guy. This Boris Berezovsky. So, basically, his enemy, in other words, his enemies are saying that he committed suicide. So, Alexander Dobrovinsky, a prominent lawyer at the Moscow-based Alexander Dobrovinsky and Partners, says Berezovsky committed suicide. So they're making suggestions that he committed suicide. Russian Forbes websites made suggestions that they heard this from some journalist, said that he was talking like he was depressed and he didn't want to get involved in politics anymore, and his life wasn't worth anything anymore. And so what is that telling you right there on the surface? Pretty obvious, right? They're making suggestions. They're trying to make the public think, plant in their mind that he committed suicide. Why are they doing that? Why don't they just say, you know, he died and we don't know why? Because basically they probably killed him, okay? Anyway, RT, Russia Today, you know, basically the Vladimir Putin voice, notes that, and along with Abby Martin, the shill, Berezovsky, his son-in-law said he was recently depressed, failing to keep in touch with friends and acquaintances while staying home a lot. So, anyway, they're all making suggestions, you know, including RT, and that he was depressed and suicidal. Pile of bullshit. And when they're making suggestions like that, that screams to me that they killed him. And now, just to get this right from Wikipedia so you get a little background, although he was once a supporter of Vladimir Putin, Berezovsky clashed with the new president soon after his election in 2000, was later a major, basically they're not saying it, was a major vocal critic for the remainder of his life. So, basically accumulated almost $3 billion, but I can tell you, you could say this is Western propaganda, but I think Putin has probably like 20 times that. Anyway, one prominent critic on the global stage was leftist billionaire George Soros, who compared Russian oligarchs with the robber barons of the late 19th century, which George Soros is a robber baron himself, so he always got to make himself look like he's big philanthropist and a good guy, and you're the bad guys. It's a typical freaking game. But anyway, Berezovsky publicly stated that he was on a mission to bring down Vladimir Putin by force or by bloodless revolution. So it could be by blood or not blood. So what does that tell you, right? He's always been, so, and now they're all suggesting from Russia Today and all that, Vladimir Putin's state-owned news agency, Propaganda Avenue right there, that he was depressed. He was depressed. So if they're trying to make these suggestions to people that he was depressed and suicidal, that draws major suspicion. So anyway, he established the International Foundation of Civil Liberties. That's in other words, actually he was doing some good stuff here, because when you got competition like that and you got big guys fighting each other, basically what's going on is you're exposing each other. So that's a good thing. You could say this guy was no good too, but it's like he's since they screwed him, he's out there fighting the other guys back. So he's basically, even though he could say he was dirt, whatever it was, he was probably true dirt that he was digging up on a lot of things. So basically, he got the international, he established and funded the International Foundation for Civil Liberties to support the abused and the vulnerability in society, prisoners, national minorities, and business people in Russia, and criticized Putin's record in the West. So Putin wanted to get rid of him, I'm assuming, right? But, little common sense, again, little common sense. It don't really take much to figure this out. When you got so many different people coming out in these Russian media outlets, Russia Today and Forbes.ru and other venues, basically they're telling you, what to think. And, you should be thinking the opposite. So basically, again, from Russia Today, just got a call from London. Boris Berezovsky committed suicide. He was a difficult man. A move of disparity. Impossible to live poor. Strike of blows. I don't know. I wish you would have called me up. Damn it. I was trying to get in touch with this guy, to tell you the truth, but anyway. Well, I shouldn't put that out here, but hey, he's too big, too rich for me, but he should have worked with me, man, because it's the good guys who we want to work with. Because, to tell you the truth, Russian people get screwed over by Vladimir Putin. Maybe this Berezovsky wasn't a perfect guy, but he's a better guy than Vladimir Putin, that's for sure. And on the surface right here, just the fact that RT's making all these suggestions, and these other Russian rags are making these suggestions that, oh, it was suicide, he was depressed, and no, his life wasn't working. They're just trying to make you think a certain way. They killed him. They killed him. That's what I figure. I mean, pretty obvious to me, right? He's pretty much been always a thorn in the side of Vladimir Putin. All along. So, hey, they got rid of him. That's what I have to say. Good guy. It's a shame, man. It's a shame. It's one against justice, That's when they knocked this guy out. That's basically 1 point against justice. So, he might not have been perfect, but he was still a good guy, unfortunately, But just, YouTube listeners, I know you're going to love. I know, actually, in the West, there's more people that love Vladimir Putin probably than in Russia. But, man, the guy ain't good, believe me. He ain't good. There's a bunch of rotten guys up there in the top, but he's probably one of the worst ones going. But, man, he's slick. Just watch out.